My name is Evelyn Hart, and I never expected my life to unravel at this stage, not like this. At 61, with salt in my silver blonde hair and decades of experience in boardrooms, I was known across the country as one of the wealthiest women in the world. The media called me the Ice Queen of Tech, a title I secretly loved. I had built Hart Innovations from nothing, and I wore my tailored suits like armor. I had homes in New York, Miami, Paris, and Dubai. I had everything money could buy, except warmth, touch, or passion. My husband, Gerald, was a good man. We met in college, built the company together, and grew rich side by side. But over the years, he became more of a business partner than a lover. Our children were grown. Our conversations turned into board meetings. We shared space, but we hadn't touched each other with desire in years. I told myself I didn't need that anymore, until Noah came into my life. Noah Pierce was 25, confident, easygoing, and dangerously charming. He wasn't rich. He didn't come from power. He didn't know how to play chess with CEOs or sip vintage wine from Italy. But he smiled like the sun. I met him at my estate in Malibu when I hired a new private fitness coach through my assistant. Noah walked into my life in gray joggers and a black t-shirt, muscles outlined like sculpture, his eyes the color of ocean after rain. I was in my gym, wearing a conservative outfit, tight leggings and a long tunic. I didn't expect anything from the session. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. But Noah smiled at me like I was the only woman in the world. "You're Evelyn?" he asked, shaking my hand with confidence. "I've heard you're a legend." I laughed for the first time in days. "A legend who's stiff in the joints." He grinned. "Then I guess I have work to do." For the first few weeks, it was just professional. He trained me hard, pushing me past my limits. He corrected my posture, guided my breathing, and gave me space. But I saw the way his eyes lingered when I'd finish a set, breathless, my face flushed. I saw how his hand hovered a second longer on my back when he adjusted my form. I tried to ignore it, but I felt alive. One afternoon, it was storming outside. We trained in silence as thunder cracked through the windows. I stumbled while doing lunges, and he rushed to catch me. His hands landed on my waist, and for a moment, we were close, too close. I looked into his eyes, expecting him to step back. He didn't. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "Yes," I whispered, but I didn't move. My heart was pounding. He helped me up, but didn't let go. "You're strong, Evelyn," he said. "But I see how tired you are of pretending you don't need anyone." The room was quiet except for the rain. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. His words hit me harder than any workout. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the fire, sipping wine, asking myself what I was doing. I was married. I had built my empire on discipline. But part of me, the woman I had buried beneath years of strategy and structure, was awake again. Noah started showing up even when we didn't have sessions. He brought me coffee in the morning, stayed late after training, told me stories about his past, his struggling family, his dream of starting a nonprofit for kids without fathers. He listened to me, not to the billionaire, to the woman. I tried to draw boundaries. I told him we had to stay professional. He nodded, but his eyes said more than his words ever did. Then one evening, we watched a movie in my private screening room. Just the two of us. The lights were low. I could feel the heat between us. At one point, I laughed at a scene and turned to him. His eyes were already on me. "I like your laugh," he said. I smiled nervously. I haven't laughed like that in a while. He moved closer. "May I?" he asked. I should have said no. I didn't. His lips touched mine, gentle, warm, careful, like he was waiting for me to pull away. But I didn't. I kissed him back. And for the first time in decades, I felt desired, not for my money, not for my power, but for me. The affair began slowly, secretly. It was never about lust alone. We talked more than we touched. He made me feel seen. And I started to realize how lonely my life had become. I flew him with me to my Paris estate under the guise of a training trip. We wandered the gardens at midnight. He held my hand like a promise. We danced under the moonlight to music from my phone. I felt young again, reckless and radiant. But guilt crept in. Gerald noticed I was distracted. One evening, he sat across from me at dinner and asked, "Are you happy, Evelyn?" I didn't know what to say. I had everything, and nothing. I decided to end it with Noah. I invited him to my New York penthouse and told him we had to stop. "You're married," he said. I knew this couldn't last forever. But I hoped. He didn't cry. Neither did I. But when he walked out, it felt like all the air left the room. I tried to go back to my old life. Boardrooms, meetings, charity galas. But everything felt gray. I was haunted by the memory of his voice, his touch, his smile. Then one day, I saw a photo of him online. He had started his nonprofit. The caption read, "For the boys who never had a mentor. For the women who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." I cried that night. I told Gerald the truth. All of it. Not the physical details, just the emotional betrayal. He sat in silence. Then he said, "You've always been loyal to everyone but yourself." We separated months later, not in anger, but with understanding. He moved to Napa. We still talk occasionally like old friends. As for Noah, I never saw him again. I didn't try to find him. Some stories are too beautiful to stretch into the mundane. Today, I sit on the balcony of my Miami estate, watching the waves roll in. I'm alone, but not lonely, because for a brief, unforgettable season, I was more than a billionaire. I was a woman in love, and that made all the difference.